Hello Year 6, this is Mrs. Klein recording the last ever book talk on Wednesday, March the 3rd. This will be the last time that you see me or listen to me recording the book talk. I'm sure you're very thankful for that. And I'm very excited to see you all next week in school. So this is a very exciting moment for me as well. Right. I do apologise, this is the second time I've recorded this particular book talk because you've probably noticed this week I have forgotten my glasses, which isn't very helpful. So I managed to read the whole book talk, literally I just finished, in reverse order. So I shall show you what I mean in a minute, but I'm going to screen share and hopefully you can see what I'm talking about in a minute. So here we go, I'm going to read the questions first. How do Matteo's feelings about being on the rooftop change from when he first gets onto the rooftop to when he walks across the roof? Question 2. How would you describe Matteo as a character? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. So that's really important that you use evidence from the text. Don't just say he's something and not justify it by using evidence from the text. And number 3, select an extract from the text which describes the setting. For example, the roof or the city. So you've got to select something, a quote from the text that describes the setting. And you've got to explain what you like about this extract and why it is effective. So I'm going to have to speak a bit louder because I'm battling with lunchtime now. So hopefully, let me just get it to fit. That makes sense. Right. You can see here the number 5, the page 5. I managed to read from page 6, which wasn't very, so I have to start, when you read it, you'll notice that you need to start on the page 5, which is just above the questions, and then that goes on to the top of page 6. So I only just spotted that rather unhelpfully at the end, silly me. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read from here. Let me just check I've got page 5 again. Don't do the same thing. Right, here we go. Matteo dusted down his hands and adjusted his clothes, sucked the blood of his arm where it dragged against the brickwork and stood up. He leaned over the gold-rimmed parapet and took in his surroundings. It was a dizzying feeling. Matteo had climbed many trees before, but never a rooftop. His whole body was stuttering. The chase, he realised, had eaten him up. The fear is exhausting, and even though he would not have admitted it himself, he had been afraid. Matteo had no family, which meant he had nobody who would help him if he were caught. He walked the whole surface of the roof. It was not, he thought, so bad up here. It was quieter, more private. The people in the street below all watched each other and passed judgment, even if just very fleetingly, on each other's everything: shoes, clothes, face, walk, money, power. Up here, nobody could see him. Up here, nobody could chase him. He looked out over Paris. The lights flickering on made it look unfamiliar and alive. He'd been born in Paris, at least he supposed he had, and knew, as all Parisians up we go, do, that it was the greatest place on earth. Yet he had never really looked at it before now. Its streets twisted and wound round churches and great hotels and tiny cafes, and through it all, the great River Seine, turning midnight blue as the summer evening fell. So think about that, describing a nice setting, isn't it? Beneath his feet, the orchestra struck up, and the opera began, vibrating through his shoes and all the way into his lungs. The music made him feel reckless, but carefree, without a thought. In the dark, he climbed up on the ledge of the parapet and stood right at the edge, with his toes curled over the drop into nothing. He felt his stomach swoop in an entire cycle of his body. It was in his feet, skull, knees, chest. At one point, it felt like it was possibly in his ears. It was terrifying and electric. He should really, he thought, go back down. But up here, it was like nothing else he'd ever felt before. It was like being drunk on the air. Up here, high above the streets and the world that walks in them, even a child with a hole in his shoe could feel like a king. It was the perfect place for a birthday feast. He struck a lit match into the cucumber and placed the candle and sang very softly, "Happy birthday to me," and he decided to stay. There we go. Okay, so that's it. So let's look at the questions again. How do Matteo's feelings about being on the rooftop change from when he first gets onto the rooftop to when he walks across the rooftop? So you've got to show that change of feeling, how he's feeling at the beginning when he's walking across, when he first gets up onto that rooftop, and then when he's actually walking across. So you've got to find that in the text. Think about, sorry, I've gone in reverse, haven't it, here. So think about this paragraph in particular, yeah, about how he's feeling as he's climbing up, yeah, and then think about later as he's actually on the rooftop and how he's feeling as a result of that. So I think it's got there's a really good reference here, isn't it? This one here in particular. Have a look at that one to describe how he's feeling. Okay. Right, question 2. How would you describe Matteo as a character? So use evidence from the text to support your answer. So think about how he is as a character and what he does. So think he's climbing up onto a rooftop. So what kind of does that tell us about him? And really use evidence from the text to support that. So it's about his character. Question 3. Select an extract from the text which describes the setting, for example, the roof or the city. Explain what you like about this extract and why it is effective. So I think I gave you a little hint, didn't I, that this one, where was it? Sorry, I'm doing it backwards again. 5, 6. Where we've got here, we've got how it's a lovely description there of what the city looks like, looking down on it from above the rooftop. There's also the streets below and the orchestra. So think about what you'd like to talk about and why it's effective. So remember, it's using that evidence from the text. Why do you think it's particularly effective? What you like about it. So you're going to think about the choice of vocabulary, aren't you, and how the imagery it sort of like paints in your mind. Okay, so I think that's everything. So I think that's hopefully all clear, and make your last book talk a fabulous one. I look forward to seeing you all in school next week. Take care. Bye.